I think we should ask ourselves this question of, is there an obligation by the government or from the government to protect our ability to speak freely? So it's one thing, we don't want the government to be limiting our free speech. We don't want the government to be censoring us. But should the government also have a role in protecting us and our abilities to speak our minds, rather than this deplatforming by these private companies that act as conduits? Social media is not really a media platform. It's not a publishing platform. This is what these media companies have been arguing for a long time. They've been saying, we're not publishers, we're not responsible for the content that's on our websites. Meanwhile, they then act as publishers when they then remove content that they deem to be fake news or controversial in some way. So they're really straddling this line. Are they media publishers, and therefore are they responsible for all the content that is being published on their platform? Or are they really more like a telephone company where they're providing a service for people to connect? Now, imagine if your telephone company, if your cell phone company or your landline company, for those of you who still have landlines, imagine if those companies said, we're not allowing you to call this particular person because we think the conversation you're going to have with that particular person is going to be controversial or fake news or dangerous in some way. We don't allow telephone companies to do this. We don't allow cell phone companies to say, we're not going to offer a cell phone to this person because we don't fundamentally agree with them, or we think this person is dangerous in some way. So social media, in my view, acts more like a telecom company. That should be the purpose of it. It is a way for people to connect, a way for people to, especially, a site like Facebook in particular has been excellent at keeping families together. It's been excellent at keeping people connected. I have cousins on my Facebook page who are second or third cousins who I would see only maybe once or twice in my life, who I'm able to remain connected to because of Facebook. So there's a lot of benefit to Facebook, but is Facebook acting as a media publisher, or are they acting more like a telecom company? Now, I have to choose to call you, or I have to choose to accept the call from you, right? And the same thing with Facebook. I have to choose to be your friend, or I have to choose to follow your page. Now, so one question I think we should all be asking ourselves is there a role perhaps within the government to prevent sort of collective censorship by society? So even though there are these private companies and they're saying, well, I don't have to serve you, or I don't have to platform you, that's fair enough. But we don't really allow private companies that discretion on all fronts. We do have the government step in and protect certain groups of people or protect certain behaviors. We don't let private companies just say, point blank, we're just going to let you choose who you will and will not serve. So I think there is a question there, and that is something for us to all think about. Censorship to me is very alarming. It's not only alarming when it comes from the government, that would be extra alarming, of course, but it's also alarming to me when it becomes a societal norm. I don't want to live in a society where it's authoritative and people want to censor information and they want to block people from hearing certain things. Now, one thing that I want to say about the doctors in particular who gave their recommendations for what they believe to be an effective treatment in the battle against coronavirus, I am pro-choice. I am a pro-choice person. I believe that medical decisions should be left between the patients and the physicians. And I hold that consistently with every medical decision, be it a woman's right to choose, or be it my right to choose what type of treatment I would like to try for a novel coronavirus. And the alarming thing that's been going on is this sort of desire to ban certain medical treatments that we're seeing continue on with the politicization of the medicine regarding the coronavirus. We're seeing some calls or outcries for preventing people from getting certain medications, from discouraging doctors from prescribing it, or else they might face medical boards and their licenses might be up for debate. So that to me is very alarming. I am a pro-choice person. If you are a pro-choice person, you should be fundamentally pro-choice in allowing people the right to choose their medical decisions, the right to make their medical decisions between themselves and their doctors. A second thing that I found really alarming that happened over the last week was this demonizing of the doctor who talks about demons. Okay, listen. Do I prescribe to this woman's religious views? Absolutely not. Her religious views to me are very extreme, but they are religious views and they're hers. And one thing that I found really alarming was that all of these media professionals, CNN, I turn on CNN, I turn on MSNBC, I look on social media, and I see all of these so-called leftists or liberals, and they are demonizing the woman talking about demons. Now, like I said, I don't prescribe to her religion or really any religion for that matter, but plenty of people do, and plenty of doctors do. There are plenty of doctors who believe there's Jehovah's Witnesses, there's those who follow Islam, you've got those who follow Judaism, you've got those who follow Mormonism. There's plenty of doctors following plenty of religions that if you were to read the text from those religions, you would think, wow, this is really crazy to believe this. Or you might find this particular doctor at church speaking about heaven and hell and devils and spirits and angels, and they might get on their knees every night and talk to God and pray to angels. That might be something they do. I don't know if it's a legitimate reason to say that person is no longer somebody that I can trust to make medical decisions alongside with. I found that really alarming because even though I don't agree with her religious views, even though, yes, I found them to be, kind of out there for sure, I still found it very curious that so many people who claim to protect religious freedom and claim to protect religious diversity are the first ones to attack somebody who is religiously very diverse because they just want to demonize the person because they don't like other views that person holds. So I just want some consistency from people. If you want to be if you want to be anti-choice, then you can be anti-choice, I suppose. If you believe that a woman doesn't have the right to choose alongside her physician for what is going to be a good medical decision for her, fine. Then you also, I believe you'd be very consistent in your argument in that you would say, then I also want to ban certain medical procedures and certain other medications. That to me is a very logical viewpoint. But if you're somebody who says you are pro-choice, then I think you need to consistently be pro-choice and allow people to make medical decisions alongside their physician and keep politics out of it. Same thing, if you are going to be somebody who says you are for religious freedom, you don't think that there should be persecution, for example, against Jews or Muslims, then I think you need to remain consistent in your viewpoint and also look at people who have very odd religious views and say they're protected as well. It is not my place to make fun of them or demonize them or harass them or in some way delegitimize their working profession because they happen to believe in certain spiritual things. That was something that I found very alarming from last week, just this inconsistency that I'm starting to see, that I've been seeing. I've always found people more leaning on the right to be a bit hypocritical, but I'm finding people leaning to the left to be also very, very hypocritical.